At 0847 hours on March 18, 1944, First Lieutenant Louis E. Johnson grips the control yoke of his B-24J Liberator over the English Channel, watching the French coast materialize through the scattered clouds. 23 years old, piloting his 14th combat mission with the 458th Bomb Group, he commands a 10-man crew aboard a bomber nicknamed the Patches, a name that will prove grimly prophetic within 3 hours. Johnson grew up in rural Kansas, the son of a wheat farmer who taught him to fly crop dusters at 16. That experience, nursing fragile aircraft through unpredictable prairie winds, forged instincts that military training merely refined. He stands 5'9", lean and quiet, with calloused hands and a methodical temperament. His crew calls him Steady Lou. Today, that steadiness will be tested beyond human limits. The mission: strike the Daimler-Benz tank engine factory outside Friedrichshafen, Germany. Intelligence estimates moderate flak resistance. The briefing officer was catastrophically wrong. Friedrichshafen sits 400 miles inside enemy territory, defended by 88mm and 105mm batteries positioned in overlapping kill zones. The 458th will fly without fighter escort for the final 200 miles. 21 B-24s form up in combat box formation at 22,000 feet. Johnson's co-pilot, Second Lieutenant Frank Morrow, adjusts the throttle settings on all 4 Pratt & Whitney R1830 engines. Each produces 1,200 horsepower, driving the 32-ton bomber at 215 miles per hour. Behind them, Bombardier Lieutenant James Keller crouches over the Norden bomb site, calculating wind drift and target coordinates. In the waist gun positions, Sergeants Eddie Vasquez and Tom O'Brien scan for enemy fighters through -40-degree air. The formation crosses into German airspace at 0935 hours. Radio chatter dies. Every man aboard 72 aircraft, 720 souls, understands the mathematics of daylight bombing. The 8th Air Force loses 1 crew for every 15 missions flown. Johnson has 14 behind him. Statistical probability says he's living on borrowed time. He checks his parachute harness. The silk pack feels reassuring against his spine. He doesn't know he won't need it. At 10:42 hours, black puffs blossom ahead, German 88mm flak detonating at precise altitude. The shells explode in coordinated patterns, creating killing boxes through which bombers must fly. Shrapnel rattles against the Patches like hail on a tin roof. Johnson holds formation. Evasive action means aborting the bomb run. The Norden site requires 12 seconds of straight level flight. Those 12 seconds will cost everything. Keller's voice crackles through the intercom. Bomb bay doors open. IP in 30 seconds. The initial point, the final navigation waypoint before target. Johnson's hands tighten on the yoke. Flak intensifies. A B-24 off the right wing erupts in orange flame, cartwheeling earthward with no parachutes. That's 10 men gone. Johnson counts silently. 3, 4, 5 seconds. The bomber disintegrates at 18,000 feet. Debris tumbles through the formation. Steady. Steady, Keller murmurs, eye pressed to the bomb site. German gunners below have ranged the formation perfectly. Every explosion now detonates within killing radius, 200 feet. Hot metal screams through aluminum skin. The number 3 engine stutters, belches black smoke, then catches again. Hydraulic fluid streams from ruptured lines beneath the cockpit floor. Johnson's boots slide in the slick pooling around his pedals. 8 seconds to release. If you want to see how Johnson's impossible flight back to England turned out, please hit that like button. Back to Johnson. Bombs away. The Liberator lurches upward, 4,000 pounds lighter. Keller reports good hits, factory buildings erupting in secondary explosions. The formation banks left. beginning the long egress. That's when the 105mm shell detonates directly beneath the patches. The blast wave hammers the bomber skyward, shearing off control surfaces. The entire tail section, rudder, elevators, rear turret, shreds like wet paper. Gunner Sergeant Bill Crawford disappears in the explosion. The B-24 snap rolls inverted. Johnson fights the yoke with both hands, every muscle straining. Morrow pulls opposite, throttles firewalled. The bomber tumbles through 3,000 feet of altitude in 12 seconds, terminal velocity spin that should be unrecoverable. At 19,000 feet, Johnson reverses the engines asymmetrically, full power right side, idle left. The torque arrests the spin. The patches shutters level, nose down, diving at 320 miles per hour toward the German countryside. The damage becomes apparent. The tail turret, gone, the rudder severed. The elevators, 3/4 destroyed. Hydraulics, 0 pressure. Both waist gunners wounded. Vasquez with shrapnel through his thigh. O'Brien unconscious from head trauma. The radio operator, Sergeant Mike Donnelly, applies tourniquets while reporting casualties. Crawford's status, KIA. The bomber's aluminum skin resembles Swiss cheese. Over 1,000 holes already counted, more appearing as wind tears enlarged openings. Flight is aerodynamically impossible. Yet, the patches flies. Johnson discovers he can maintain altitude using only throttle and trim tabs, microscopic adjustments to engine power, creating crude directional control. Turning requires 5 minutes of gradual power modulation. The English Channel lies 400 miles northwest. Fuel consumption doubles with the shredded airframe, creating massive drag. Johnson calculates, maybe enough fuel. Maybe. Morrow plots a direct course, avoiding known flak concentrations. Every mile matters now. At 11,000 feet over the Rhine River, Johnson realizes the true horror. Every control input delays 3 to 5 seconds. Cables severed, responses traveling through jury-rigged connections. A Messerschmitt Bf-109 appears off the port wing, circling. The German pilot pulls alongside close enough that Johnson sees his face. The pilot stares at the disintegrating bomber, shakes his head in disbelief, and peels away without firing. The patches poses no threat, barely maintains flight. In the waist, Vasquez operates his .50 caliber, Browning one-handed, leg tourniqueted. O'Brien regains consciousness, vomiting from concussion. Donnelly moves between wounded men, morphine running low. The intercom crackles. Keller reports nose section losing pressurization through a 2-foot tear. Outside temperature, minus 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Frostbite begins immediately for exposed skin. Johnson orders non-essential crew aft to balance the aircraft. Weight distribution becomes critical. Too much forward means uncontrollable nose drop. Too much aft means death spin. The crew shuffles through the bomb bay catwalk, redistributing 1,600 combined pounds. The bomber stabilizes slightly. Johnson's forearms burn from continuous yoke pressure. Morrow spells him every 10 minutes. Brutal increments of maximum exertion maintaining flight. Over Belgium, at 11:47 hours, the number 2 engine seizes. The propeller windmills uselessly, creating drag pulling the bomber left. Johnson can't feather it, hydraulics dead. He compensates with asymmetric power on 3 remaining engines. Airspeed drops to 165 miles per hour. The altimeter reads 9,200 feet and descending. Ocean ditching becomes probable. Every calculation says they won't make England. Donnelly calculates fuel. 90 minutes remaining. English coast, 75 minutes distant. Johnson orders everything thrown overboard: ammunition belts, flak vests, oxygen bottles, shell casings. Waist gunners heave 600 pounds through the shredded fuselage. The bomber rises 300 feet. At 12:14 hours, Vasquez screams. His tourniquet loosened. Blood streams across the deck. Donnelly tightens it until Vasquez passes out. They wrap him in every available jacket. The French coast appears at 12:29 hours. Altitude, 7,400 feet. The English Channel stretches 70 miles wide, gray and lethal. Johnson won't abandon wounded crew. They cross together or die together. Salt spray scent fills the cockpit through 1,000 holes. The number 3 engine coughs, sputters. Fuel starvation begins. Morrow radios, Mayday, B-24, Delta 79er, extensive damage, 3 wounded, requesting priority landing. The English coast materializes at 12:51 hours. Johnson has been flying 4 hours, 4 minutes. His hands shake from exhaustion. The bomber descends through 4,000 feet. RAF Halesworth lies 15 miles inland. The tower vectors him straight in. Fire trucks line the runway. Ambulances wait with doors open. Johnson extends landing gear manually. Hand crank, 60 rotations. The wheels lock down. Landing speed, 135 miles per hour instead of normal 95. The runway threshold passes beneath at 13:01 hours. Johnson cuts all engines simultaneously. The B-24 drops like a stone. Main gear strikes concrete. The impact shatters Johnson's teeth together. The bomber bounces 15 feet, slams down again. Without tail surfaces, the nose wants to dig earthward. Johnson and Morrow haul back on the yoke. 200 pounds of pressure. The runway disappears at 120 miles per hour. No brakes. They're not stopping. The Patches roars off the runway into grass at 80 miles per hour. Landing gear collapses. The bomber grinds forward on its belly, aluminum shrieking, sparks fountaining, dirt sprays through the shredded fuselage. 300 yards, 200, 100. The bomber rotates slowly right. At 50 yards, it stops. Total silence follows. No engines, no wind, just ringing ears and ragged breathing from 10 men. Medics extract the wounded within 90 seconds. Vasquez survives. The tourniquet saved his leg. O'Brien recovers after 3 weeks. Crawford's body is recovered, returned to Iowa for burial with full honors. Maintenance officers count 1,047 holes. Tail section 65% destroyed. Control cables severed in 18 locations. The chief engineering officer declares the Patches unflyable. The aircraft should have disintegrated over Germany. Physics cannot explain its survival. Johnson receives the Distinguished Flying Cross on April 2, 1944. The citation reads, "For extraordinary achievement while participating in aerial flight, displaying exceptional skill and courage in returning a critically damaged aircraft and wounded crew to friendly territory." He completes 15 more missions, survives the war, returns to Kansas. He farms wheat until 1989. Louis Johnson dies November 7, 2003, age 82, buried in Salina Municipal Cemetery. His DFC rests in the mighty 8th Air Force Museum, Georgia. The Patches, deemed beyond repair, was scrapped for aluminum in July 1944, recycled into new bombers. Of 18,482 B-24 Liberators built, none survived comparable damage. Aviation experts still cannot explain how the aircraft remained airborne. The crew knew, sheer will, physics be damned. Johnson brought them home when aerodynamics said death was certain. That's legacy enough. If you found this story incredible, please subscribe to see more untold stories of courage from World War II. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these moments of impossible heroism. Thank you for watching and for keeping their memory alive.